Hello and welcome to the What's My Age Again podcast. I'm Matt Rhodes and I'm here with my very handsome and very summery looking friend, Matthew Carline.
Stop it. Stop
How are
it.
you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
You know, effervescent and bubbly. I've got my big mug and I'm...
That's the best way of explaining you. I don't think I've ever heard a better explanation of what you are like.
Effervescent and bubbly.
Yeah.
Well, they mean the same thing, that's it, because essentially what I'm about is doubling down.
Well, yeah, okay. So you're more about doubling down than you are about being bubbly.
Bubbling down. That's
Bubbling down, yeah. Instead of doubling, bubbling.
what the
You're
creators say.
doubling. I'm doubling like this.
Exactly like that. So...
I'm glad you like my shirt, by the way, because it's I only wore this for you.
I do like it.
It's a very typical Matt Rhodes shirt.
I like it. It's a little bit chilly over where I am, so I thought let's put it on. But underneath, I've got a lovely purple number, so you know, it's like a grape.
Like a grape. Love stuff. I like it.
So, what are we talking about today, Matt?
Well, we're back to the normal format where we're going to talk about things about midlife crisis and what constitutes an early midlife crisis. This month we are talking about jobs, and if turning 30 makes you panic slightly and makes you quit your job and go on a different route and start a new career, or is it not really worth it, or do you stay in your job and kind of let the fear get to you too much, and then just stick in a job that you don't particularly like that much? So I think the gist of it is, do people panic when they get to 30, and do they jump ship and go and start something new? We've got some stuff on the social media desk, we've got some stats, so we can dig into it, plus obviously some personal opinions and some stories from ourselves. So yeah, that's where we're at today. But you know, before we get into that, it's been like 6 weeks since we last started the podcast, so what's going on, man?
How are you? I'm alright, you know, it's this whole brave new world is getting a bit complicated, isn't it? But apart from that,
so many rules.
You know, in a the localist of local news, i.e. only pertaining to myself, what did I do? I bought a new razor the other day for my head, obviously, and it is not a safety razor, and as such, I nearly bled to death. That was a novelty.
How do you know? How is it not a safety razor? How does that work?
Right. So it's right. So technically,
I need some more context in this one.
Yeah, technically, I suppose it is. It's not just like a sword or whatever. It's It is I suppose it is a safety razor, but it's not this. You know, the razors we're used to now that have like got there's like a ball and it'll move to the contours of your head and whatever, and you'll be fine, and you can just go at your head like that, and it'll just do it. This is not one of those. This is a double-edged sort of, just with the old style razor blade in. You pop it in, and then you have a horrendous time. But it's what a close shave. So close it took parts of my head off. But it was good. And now, obviously, I'm having to grow my hair until I can go back and shave it again. Because speaking of getting the fear, I've got the fear when I go back.
You don't want to revisit said razor, then, no?
This is it. Well, there's only so much blood in a human, isn't there? And how quick does it respawn? That's my question.
I think you're supposed to reproduce blood quite quickly, aren't you? You know, if you like have a bit of food and have a bit of a sit down, then don't more blood just kind of appear? How does blood even appear? How does that even work?
One word. Witchcraft. It's the only explanation.
I would wonder what you were going to say. But yeah, that's the only reason why. That's it. Like, because obviously you have a certain amount of blood in your body, and then at some point blood leaves your body. But then I'm not going to get a transfusion if I cut my finger and I bleed a bit. Or when you have a nosebleed, you bleed quite a lot. But then no one's going to be like, right, you need to go to hospital, have a blood transfusion, you need to pump some more blood back in you.
This is it, and the question is...
Does that mean that you're low on your blood? You need to top up or not? Or
well, that's
slowly, gradually build up?
I've not got enough blood. I'm the exact opposite of Michael Ball, who as we all know, has twice the amount of blood as a normal human. Right, we're getting once again sidetracked. Yes, I cut my head. Yes, I've been working. I've decided, incidentally, for the couple of our friends that listen to this, because you're all our friends. Anyone who's listening to this right now, I'm doing Movember for men's health. You know, for the prostate cancer and that. Doing that, so I'm going to have a comedy mustache for a month. But I've decided, right, rather than grow a mustache, which I feel like I've got relatively light mustache hair, I could get away with that for 3 weeks. No one might even notice. What I'm going to do is just go Hulk Hogan from day one. Absolute handlebar, just
handlebars. Yes, so, I absolutely love that. Yeah, that's incredible. So, are you? So, how are people going to be sponsoring you and stuff? Is there anywhere that people can sponsor you to do said shave?
I will be doing it on the Movember website. There will be a link at some point. I haven't wrote the bio on it, so I haven't actually put the link out or anything. But when we put this up, we will pop a link in the description. How's that for you?
That's beautiful, because we want as many people as possible to help you in your quest to embarrass yourself the whole of November.
That's it. It's a long month as well. You know, it's a long month, and it's one of the colder months. So already I'm going to be pretty shivery if I get rid of my big beard as well. The coldest of heads.
I know you're gonna have like blood pouring out of your head, and the rest of your face is going to be freezing. Like it's going to be a torrid time, November, for you. This
is it, and it's good. I'm very much going to look like Hulk Hogan has participated in some sort of hardcore match. That's
there's been a lot some WCW events where Hulk Hogan's been bleeding profusely. So you could reenact some of them, maybe.
I could. Reese, at me. You know where I am. Call him Mania. Woo! So,
absolute Ric Flair did then.
You know what? Ric Flair, what a guy. I saw a man with a Ric Flair t-shirt on a while back, and it just said, Ric Flair is your favourite wrestler's favourite wrestler. And that is phenomenal. What a tagline to take, yeah. Well done, that man.
Yeah, well, whoever made that t-shirt did a bang-on job. Good job.
I'm assuming he got a sign-off on it, rather than just a bootleg, but you never know.
You never know. People might be making that on DL hush money.
We've scuppered it now. We've scuppered it mentioning it. This is.
If we don't come back for next month's podcast, it's because the feds have got to us in regards to outing people's t-shirt making businesses.
Oh, you know what? I didn't take us for a couple of narcs, but here we are.
A couple of tattletales.
And snitches get stitches, and this is it.
They do. But they say snitches get stitches, right? But I suppose it's probably better to get stitches than to bleed to death.
True. You've only got so much blood.
The moral of the story is you can still live.
So tell over everyone. Tell over everyone.
Yeah, balls to it. Do what you want. Go nuts.
So, what about yourself? What have you been up
to? I'll tell you what I have been doing. You might see me drinking this beverage here that you'd think is the flattest pint of lager you've ever seen in your entire life. It's in fact the flattest pint of non-alcoholic lager you've ever seen.
Look at him go.
I have not had a drink since the start of September, and it is now October the 1st. So I've gone one whole English month without a drop of alcohol in my system, and I will not be having another drink for another 10 days.
10 days?
So how many days is September have? Is it 30? 30? 30 days. Yeah, 30 days. So I will not drink for 40 days.
40? Why? What's brought this on?
Well, my birthday is in October. October 15th, by the way, if anyone wants to buy me anything nice and send me abusive messages online. So my birthday's on the 15th of October. Obviously after the proper lockdown and us being able to go back into the real world and go to pubs and restaurants and whatnot, I think I kind of abused the first 2 weeks of that and kind of went out a bit too much. Had a bit too much alcohol, a bit too much fine food, and then realised that I was going in a direction that would make me a bit more porky than I'd like to be. So instead, I thought, yes. So I thought the best idea would be to give up the old amber nectar and kind of just see if that helps with the old weight loss and try and look as best as I can for my birthday. For then me to piss it all away and just drink for like a week. So
this is it.
That's why I'm doing it.
You know what they said? Oh yeah, it's this is why people enjoy roller coasters so much. You see, because you do very, very well, and you go up and up and up and up and up, and everyone's enjoying that. It's steady, it's pleasant. You're doing well. But the bit they really like is when you piss it all away and it goes down like that.
Yeah.
The drop.
So I'm probably gonna go hard for my birthday, because I normally do. I normally have like a week off for my birthday. So I'm probably just going to have. Well, the thing is, at the moment, with the current restrictions, you can't see anyone. You can't see many people in more than groups of 6. So, so I'll have to have small little birthday gatherings with different groups of people, which is frustrating, but I suppose it's still the way I'm going to get around it. So I feel like my birthday week is going to be. Just a lot of day drinking with different people. So, but that's the reason why I've done it, because I didn't want to get to my birthday and be in a lot worse position than I am now. So, and I'm happy to report that I have only really lost half a stone.
Yeah, still though.
Yeah, it's still not bad, but I feel like if you don't drink, you probably just replace alcohol with something different, like sweets and biscuits and sugary stuff.
I don't know though, because I feel like if you were like, oh, I'm going out on a night, I'll have 12 pints, say. No one will really be like, oh, you have every night, and then that'll be it, move on. If you went and said to someone, in all seriousness, guess how many packets of crisps I ate last night, and the answer was 12, there'd be an intervention. Someone would say something.
I don't think I've eaten 12 packs of crisps before.
No, I feel like 6. You've done 6 packs of crisps in a go.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just sat down in a row, though.
Yeah, it was a few years back, but I've definitely done that. You know,
it might not be the drinking that's your problem, Matt.
Well, no, I don't do it now. I don't do
that. and you have bravely remained sober for a month and a half. But actually,
I just eat my body weight in crisps, and that's the reason why I've not really lost any weight. No, the thing is, I have lost a bit of weight, and I think a lot of time, it takes a while for your body to kind of catch up to what you're doing. So I've got a feeling that by the time I get to my birthday, it's another like week and a half away, that I'll be probably in a better spot than I am now, because it would have been like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I've done. I didn't really want to. The thing is, I've been out quite a few times as well. I've not like just been a hermit and stayed in. I've still gone out and done things, and I always try and do like dry January, but this year. But then I thought, I wonder how easy it is to do. And you know what? In the current climate, because with all the restrictions we have in place, it is actually quite easy to do, because there's not actually a lot you can do.
Yeah,
you can do bits and pieces, but you can do other stuff to kind of compensate for it. So yeah, it's been fairly easy. I've not struggled this time around. I struggled in January. By the last weekend, I was like, oh god, I want to go out and do something. But if you can find a good non-alcoholic drink to kind of compensate for it and make you feel like you're out doing the same thing, it's quite good. So like Heineken non-alcoholic, good. I endorse that. Them as shandies are fantastic. Beck's Blue can get in the bin. It's awful.
See, I don't like the Peroni one. I don't like it.
I the Peroni one. I quite like that one.
I prefer the Heineken one. The Heineken one's nice, but I don't like the Peroni one.
The Heineken one's bang on. Actually, you can get it on draft in certain places in Rochdale, which is where we're from, which is really cool. And then I recently discovered last weekend that Aldi did their own version of it, and that was a game changer. Very
It's
nice.
lovely stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, you've inspired me, and I might do it. That's as committal as I get. But
will you do it after my birthday though?
No, what I'll do is I'll do it up to your birthday.
Right.
I'll have a lapse, and then we'll power on again.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, as long as you're going to make an exception.
That's what they say in it. Mostly sober October. It's mostly.
Yes.
So
I do actually quite. Have you noticed they've actually done that this year? They're not telling people to do sober October. They're trying to tell people to go partly sober October because they don't want to like hinder the economy by people not going out and drinking. So they're going like, oh, like we know that you don't want to drink. We know you don't want to drink all. You want to give up the drink all of October. So what you do every other day or every other weekend or 4 days or something like that. They're just trying to be like, just stop drinking for a few days. But if you think about it, unless you drink every single day, then you can pretty much do kind of going sober October anyway, can't you? Yeah,
you just don't. It's not like we're all out all the time anymore, is it? So
no, exactly. So I think that's although I get their idea. Yeah, I think it's a bit silly to think that people are it's just assuming that people are drunk all the time.
Yeah,
it's not proper lockdown times. Jesus Christ, they were all well drunk.
Yeah. Oh, I was drunk for what? 4 months. It was enlightening. Learned things, saw things, did things.
Well, this podcast came out of that, so what a blessing it was. What a blessing.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, speaking of this podcast, we've probably got a topic to move on to.
Yeah, I think we do.
So, I think we do. And I'll start with this insightful comment, right? What were your first job, Matt? And how long were you there?
Oh, first job. Are we talking like adult job or we're talking paper round?
I'm talking like adult job. I don't want to be
adult job. Okay. So when I left high school, I went to do my first job in an office that designed ventilation systems for like warehouse buildings. So it's like factories that do like sanding and carving and all that kind of stuff. Oh, okay. So I used to design ventilation systems that sucked all like the sawdust out of buildings and like shoved them in like a big container outside the back. So I used a thing I used a program called AutoCAD, which you just like draw 3D drawings on a screen, and you had to with dimensions, and you had to figure out certain things, and then you make this plan, and then you send it to someone. They go, okay, how much that cost? And you go, it costs this much, and they go, okay, I'll buy it, and then some people go fit, and then jobs are good, and that's how we do it. I did that for a summer. And I left because I realised that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, and I wanted to go back to school and piss around for another 2 years before going to university, to piss around for another 2 more years, to then go out in the real world and get a job.
Well, fair enough. So my first job was, what was it, bloody hell? Pot washing, like everyone's first job. When I pot washed for a bit.
Where was this pot wash? Yeah, this pot wash job then?
It was at the Sandbrook pub. There you go. You know Net Pictures?
Oh yeah, Sandbrook Park. For anyone who doesn't live in Rochdale, Sandbrook Park is a retail park with cinema on it, pubs, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, all that kind of jazz. And that pub seems to have been there. When did Sandbrook Park get built? Because I think I must have been very young when it was built.
Well, the pub itself was built like when I got a job there, because we were the first fucking batch of people who went in. So that was what 2000 and I want to say 4, maybe 5. 15 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been there a lot longer than that.
Yeah, but also when you think about it, 15 years, that's like half your life.
That's a good point. Whoa.
No way. and to think they gave Bill and Ted another film and we've not got one. So yeah, I went and did pot washing for a bit. It was a few evenings, a few weekends, standard stuff. But sadly, I wanted more money, so went and got like an actual 9 to 5 working in a UPVC windows factory over in Heywood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How many windows did you sell?
Oh, probably maybe 2 or 3. Like a lot of windows.
A lot of windows.
Yeah, and that was working on manufacturing machinery and stuff. And in the end, I got fired. Well, but this is what happens when you take a real lackadaisical approach to turning up on time.
So was it a really bad bit of attendance?
It was more just consistently not good. Not necessarily not necessarily one big bad one. Just sort of. Oh yeah, every day turn up at some point.
It makes it sound like you were rolling it like 20 minutes at a time.
No, only like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But the problem was clocking one, and the thing is, you can't do that forever, can you? So sadly, my career stood listening to audiobooks while pushing windows through a machine was cut short. But onwards and upwards, bigger and better things, all that.
Okay, so was that your first proper adult job, like 9 to 5 job then?
Yeah, so that's the only 9 to 5 job I've ever had. The rest. So
the rest is all hospitality.
Hospitality or retail. When I was fired from the window place, I was unemployed for 12 hours.
Nice.
Essentially, my girlfriend at the time just was working at Tesco and said, "Oh, can my boyfriend have a job? He's reliable and turns up on time." And
Ooh, good lie.
And they said, "Of course he can." So yeah, I went and did that for a while. But yeah, it's a strange one, really. This is what I was saying to you the other day. I don't think, considering the entire country thinks 9 to 5 is the normal working week.
Yeah.
I don't think all that many people work 9 to 5.
No, I completely get where you're coming from, because there's obviously so many different sectors that people work in, and a lot of it doesn't really dictate that you work 9 to 5, because obviously a lot of work is shift work, and a lot of stuff is like just what you work nights. Some people have rotating work weeks, so some people will work early one week and work late the week after. It's very rare that people, out of people that I know as well, and yourself, obviously we work in hospitality as well, but that's my full-time job. But just for the people that we know, I don't know that many people who actually work 9 to 5.
No, I don't think, especially maybe I say older people, the generation before us, perhaps it was a little bit more common, but I don't think it's so much of a thing anymore.
I think that's due to employers being able to assess what hours are more important for people to get productivity out of people. So, like, a lot of companies offer more flexi hours, to accommodate their employees being able to go in at what time is best for them. Because if you give people that freedom, that means they'll be able to go in, just get the work done, and it doesn't really affect there's not really that much of an impact in their life, really, because they do it to fit their own schedule, which is I think it's a really good idea. And I think, if it works, why not just extend that to, maybe not everyone, because you can't just turn up. You can't do flexi time when you work in a pub, because you can't just turn up and like, all right, the pub opens at 9, but I'm just going to stroll in at 12 and be like, okay, I'm here for like 4 hours and I'm going to go home.
Truth that I would love, I'd absolutely love flexi time at work, because what I would do is I would start every day at 7:30 and I would end every day at 4 o'clock. And then, you see, then the beauty of that is, then I can go to the pub.
Yeah. Well,
And then,
that'd be the dream. I mean, to be fair, like hospitality is not necessarily one of the worst jobs in the world.
no,
It's just the unsociable hours that are bad. But then, if you think about it, if you manage to get a hospitality job that's 9 to 5, I mean, I think essentially that's the dream, isn't it?
yes. And the thing is, all my mates work hospitality anyway, so even if I had evenings and weekends off, I'd be sat on my own, wouldn't I? So what difference
Unless
does it
everyone
make?
works 9 to 5 in hospitality,
Yeah,
which again would not work, would it?
So anyway, well, while I appreciate that we should spend more time talking about this utopia where we get what we want and everyone else can swivel, we've got some facts, haven't we? We actually did a surprising amount of research for this.
Research.
Yeah. So, would you like to know? So here's the first one. Can you tell me what age people are most likely to quit their job?
Well, for the purpose of this podcast, I'm going to say 30s.
30s, right? Well, I think you will be pleasantly surprised, because it is going up towards 30. Like with it looming on the horizon, people get a bit worried. You know, they're not kids anymore. You can't necessarily be a paper boy for the rest of your life, or.
But they're the best jobs.
They are. Like, I wish I could do my job riding around on a pushbike throwing stuff, but you can't necessarily be a paper boy for the rest of your life. This is what people are thinking. I'm sure you can, but
yeah.
And then they worry and they say, perhaps I need to get a better job, a more important job. Maybe I should do something with my life. This is the big worry that a lot of people have, and it's not necessarily just job related. Like it's kids, get a house mortgage, whatever, job. Cool grown up guy shoes. Regular glasses.
No more wearing Chewbacca masks.
They say regular glasses instead of sunglasses. Reading the paper instead of a magazine. These are all the grown up things. But so it looks like coming up to your 30th, like 28, 29, 30, people are starting to reevaluate what they actually want to do. But also, this may or may not be entirely in America. So
I don't think it matters too much, really, because I mean, if you think about the things that you want before you're 30, good job, kids, house, marriage, all that kind of stuff. I don't think that changes anywhere outside of like people who have a good way of life.
Yeah, the West. The
West.
All very similar. Very similar nowadays. So it does appear that there is a surge in people quitting their jobs as they approach to 30.
Oh, there is, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's not as pronounced as you think. It is just more likely rather than definitely. But it's a philosophical question, because I like to lean in a little bit heavy.
Okay.
What's the best day to quit your job? Because there is a best day. Assuming you work a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Well, I would say Friday, because then it at least gives the employer the weekend to replace you. That would be my what day I would choose to do so, because I'm nice like that.
Let me counter you with this. A week's notice given on a Monday morning.
Oh.
Because then you spend the entire week. It's your last week. You're having a great time. You're not doing any work. You've already left.
You might as well roll the TV on a stand and watch movies all day, like in primary school. You're
in holiday mode. You can do what you want. Because what are they going to do? Fire you? It's too late. You've taken the power.
You've already set sail on that ship. Yeah, to prove that does make a lot of sense. But does that mean if you give me a week's notice on the Monday, you still have to work the next Monday though?
No, absolutely not. Because you give it in on the Monday morning, that's your week, innit? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. Imagine if they were that petty, they would be like, right, well, you handed your notice in at 1 minute past, so you will be required to come into work for 1 whole minute next week.
Yeah, see, but Matt, what you're forgetting is I'm going to be late. So
you got to make that time back, though. You got to make the time back if you're going to be doing that. No, yeah, I get what you're saying. That makes total sense, and I can imagine that everyone does that if you're working 9 to 5.
Yeah,
it's not always as a courtesy in the hospitality, though, is it?
No, it's not quite that. But then again, life's not fair, is it?
Sometimes life isn't fair.
I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, I know we both of us work in hospitality. It's a thing, but nah. I love my job anyway, so I'm not quitting anytime soon. So easy doors, isn't it?
Can I ask you a question? So you're saying that when you get to like past 25 and you're gearing up to 30, that you start having these panics, right? So I read somewhere that you're likely, the average amount of time people stay in jobs is like 4.5 years.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So think of it this way: you go to university, you get your qualification in the job that you want. You leave university. What age? Around 21, 22?
Yeah. Assuming that it's all.
Then, if that's the case, you leave 21, 22. You don't automatically walk into your dream job. You have to work a job in the meantime while you're applying for these jobs. So maybe give or take half a year to a year. You walk into that job at the age of 22, 23. You stay there for 4.5 years. So it brings you up to 26, 27, maybe 28. This is when you start to have the panic. Yeah. So is there not a trend that would suggest that people go to university, spend all this money on a degree, go into the job that they think that they really want, and then end up leaving that job by the time they're 30 because they've realised that they made the wrong decision and they're in the wrong kind of job? Does that sound like it's the route that people take?
Possibly, and it is very plausible. But what I would also be hesitant to point out, that if it's going off averages, then that's going to factor in the time that you worked as a CAD operative for a summer, and it's going to factor in the guy who turns up, for instance, goes for an interview, gets a job, gets a neck tattoo, starts the job. That timeline is also factored in. So yeah, I mean, it's probably. I am not for a moment suggesting to any of our friends who are at uni to sack it off because in 4 years you'll be unhappy anyway.
That's definitely not what we're not suggesting that's what people should do. But I just think that's a worrying. That'd be something that would worry me though. That you'd spend all this money and all this time doing something, but then come to realise in 4.5 years' time that you don't actually want to do that. Just because of the situation that you're in regards to what we're talking about, was you're approaching 30, you're reassessing stuff. Are you in the right job? Are you in the right situation you want to be in? That's what I'm saying. Is that the fear setting in, where you don't know exactly where you want to be or not?
I would think the fear is more, from what I've been reading and from what people have been telling me and what have you, I would think it appears to be more that people don't feel like proper grown-ups and they feel like they should. It feels like they're almost having a moment where they're saying, "Oh, this is it. I am an adult. It is time to put away childish things. I should have a proper job like my dad did, or like my mum did, or And with it being a whole different landscape out there now, these jobs didn't exist, or don't exist, should I say. No one's going down the mine anymore, or and unfortunately, a lot of people do put that pressure on their kids, whether intentionally or not. And I think it's a bit heavy, that, isn't it? But it's
definitely. We've gone down a very heavy route.
Yeah, I mean, notorious for it. Glum.
Going deep again. Going deep.
That's it. I am a glum chum today. So
the glummest of the chums.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about. Well, tell me, have you? So you were saying before you wouldn't consider leaving your current job that you're in now just because of your age. Has there not been a moment that you've thought that it was something that you want to do? Have you ever considered a career change in the past few years?
So the only thing that makes me think that I am old, Matthew, and you will know this yourself, as soon as I say it, you will know exactly what I mean. The only thing that makes me feel like I am old in my job are the younger members of staff, because they are wildly incompetent. It is like herding cats, and I spend the majority of my day babysitting. That is certainly what it seems like at times. Other times they surprise you, and it is pleasant, and you learn cool new slang from the youth of today. However, few and far between.
Yeah, it swings and roundabouts, because you can't always assume that every single person is exactly the same. But generally, people's motives are completely different when you're a bit younger to what you are when you're older. But I think that doesn't necessarily mean the higher up in the job that you are either. I think people just have a better understanding of how the world works, and I think sometimes like younger people can be kind of fearless in the fact that if they lose their job, that it's not the end of the world and there's always something else out there. But once you get to our age, and then people start to look at your CV and say, "Ooh, why are they moving so late on in life? Like, are they too old to start a new career?" And we're not mega old, we're in our 30s, but I think some employers might be like, "Oh, well, how much are we going to get out of this person? I'm better off employing someone 10 years younger. We can get another 10 years."
And that's the other thing, because obviously from a purely cynical standpoint, someone 10 years younger than us, or should I say 13, 14 years younger than us, gets paid a pittance. If they're on standard minimum wage or whatever, it's frightening how well they get paid. Considering they're expected to do the same amount of stuff, and it's not an easy ride by any means. But this is the problem, isn't it? If you choose to change your career, you are competing with people who haven't spent 10 years stacking shelves or pulling pints, or it's a strange one, because can you remember the Royal Navy adverts from back in the day that essentially portrayed, and I'm sure it wasn't the intention, but essentially portrayed like bar work and what have you as undesirable work? The gist of it being they were said, "Oh well, I went from pulling pints in the fucking whatever it is to I can't remember. Presumably with Navy and that, it was pulling pints to, I don't know, pulling pulling men off in a port somewhere. I got fired from the Royal Navy. What a treat!" They probably don't put that in the adverts.
That's definitely a joke. We don't want any of our good people who serve the country to come back on us for that one. It was only a joke. Definitely not yet.
Or maybe you are. It's 2020. Go on. You're doing well. So, at least you're not pulling pints, is my point. Right.
But, I think you are right in that. With a lot of people older than us would associate hospitality jobs as not a real job. When you know what, sometimes like hospitality gets its stick, but you can earn a hell of a lot of money in hospitality.
Oh yeah.
And in fact, I think I earned more in hospitality than I earn in my actual job now. So, I mean, that's the price you pay for having
Evenings and weekends.
Hours.
Yeah.
So,
this is it. The fact you're essentially going to work Christmas, and it is what it is.
Unless you're one of these places who have Christmas Day off. Unless you work for a chain pub or restaurant, like you might have Christmas Day off because not everywhere opens, which is amazing, really. My housemate, he works for a pub company, but it's not a chain, and he didn't have to work Christmas Day, which is insane.
Absolute madness. But good on him. Yeah.
Congratulations him.
And congratulations to the good people at said pub company.
Company.
Exactly. There he is, beep beep, and he is doing very beep.
Very decent way.
Yeah. So, what else do we need to cover? I feel like there's a lot to talk about, but I don't want to be going around in circles with it because.
Well, I'll tell you what I will say. What I will say actually is, I think you said that you hadn't really thought about changing your job. Well, the thing is, I actually did. When I think I've always been in my job for 3 years. I think it's 3 years this year. Yeah, this year it's 3 years I'd been in my job, right? So I left hospitality when I was 29, which again falls into the explanation that people do, and they sit there and reassess things. And I was like, well, I've worked in hospitality for like 11 years now. I think I need a change, and I took that step down. I took the pay step down to go work 9 to 5, and yeah, but it's not necessarily because I didn't think that hospitality wasn't a good job, because working in hospitality is a good job, and I still enjoy it because I still do it now. I only do it part time, but I still enjoy it. And what I feel is strange is the fact that once you leave hospitality, you kind of left with a hole where you need it filling. So I was like, well, that sounded really rude, but it felt weird to leave hospitality and then not do it. So I think it only took me about 2 months after leaving my job in hospitality to kind of go back to it part time, because I was like, well, yeah, I miss it. You kind of miss if you've done that job for so long, and then having to go into a job where you can't really be the same person that you are, you kind of lose your identity a bit. Like, I had to go in an office job where I had to sit there and be quiet and get on my work and not be stupid and loud and ridiculous and just goofy. I couldn't do that. So I needed a way to vent and a way to escape that and like let it all out. So then that's why I went back to hospitality. So I could go to work, dick around for 6 hours a week, let it all out my system, and then go back to being reserved and sensible and typing and whatnot.
Typing and
so
whatnot.
It's what?
Typing and whatnot. Every sentence a window into your job. Just so. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I did that because I thought that hospitality, because I thought that I needed to do things, because I'd worked in that job for the sector for so long, but I needed a break from it, but not too much of a break for it. So that's why I went to hospitality. It wasn't to do with the fact that the job isn't desirable, the job isn't an actual good job, because it is a good job because it pays well. So it begs the question, like, if I'd have stayed in hospitality, would I be in a better situation now than I am currently? And I don't think I would be, actually. But I think that's just because of the situation that I was in before I left hospitality.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, as a job, hospitality is a lot of fun anyway. It's just, unfortunately, the people who've never worked in hospitality that tend to ruin it by coming in and kicking off. But less... Yeah,
Karen's about the whole thing.
Absolutely, I know. Get a grip. So, this is it. I mean, you can, if I went into someone's job, presumably an office, that these people work in, and or maybe it's a day and a half at a charity shop. I don't know what they do. I don't know their lives. But if I went in and received poor service, I would probably go, I'm not going there again.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't do was go, well, I'm going to stand here and make my point known, despite the fact there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you want to do about it. But I've got things I need to say. It's very odd indeed. Yeah, it's very odd. And the thing is, now we're all wearing masks all the time. They can't tell what you're mouthing behind your mask anyway. So
yeah, true.
It's
That's
not
very true. It's a joyous time to be wearing a mask if you wear a mask. If you want to vent at people under your breath.
It is a moral high ground, the likes of which the world has never seen.
Not that we condone any of that behaviour, because
absolutely not.
Because the guest is always right.
Yes, certainly. Certainly. So anyway, obviously, anyone listening to this podcast, we're not talking about you, any of your friends or relatives. This is people you've never met. So
exactly. Karen from down the road.
Yeah. Your Auntie Karen.
Shall we go to a break and then maybe hit the social media desk?
I would absolutely love to hear from social media, Matthew. So should we go for a break?
Let's go for a break.
There we go.
Ciao.
Adios.
Adios.
So, Scott, as you may be aware, there's a bit of a lockdown on.
Yes, I had heard that.
Lots of people have suddenly got a lot of time on their hands and a smorgasbord of content to choose from to fill that time. How can people find the best nerdy content when there's so much out there?
It's difficult, but don't worry. I have developed a system to find the good stuff.
I'd love to hear it.
So basically, there are 3 criteria that all the best content contains. Animated characters playing in a sport, a team of misfits overcoming impossible odds, and the acting talents of Wayne Knight.
What if people don't want to watch Space Jam on repeat?
What?
I've got another idea. How about a podcast from 2 down-to-earth guys discussing the best in books, films, comics, music, game and TV series?
That sounds amazing. I'm in.
Excellent. What do we call it?
Into the Nerdiverse, I reckon.
I'd listen to that.
Damn right you would.
Hi, welcome back. We promised you before our little break there, we were going to have an appearance from social media Matthew, which is everyone's favourite Matthew. Myself and Matthew Caroline be damned. Social media Matthew to the rescue. Hello? Look at that. That is windswept and interesting.
Yeah. Hello, Matthew. I'm social media Matthew.
Hello, social media Matthew.
I've got a lovely hat on today. Do you like?
You know what I do like? It is a sun hat reminiscent of Bez from the Happy Mondays. What a treat. We'll get you a maraca.
Yeah, I can do my best dance for you. So, I put out a little post on social media for us to get some opinions on our subject today. So I'm just going to go through some of our points. We're going to have a bit of a discussion about some of them. Okay?
Oh, good stuff.
How do you feel about that?
You know what? I feel quietly confident.
Cool. Right. So first of all, we'll go to a Miss Patsy Flanagan on Facebook and said basically what I posted. I'll tell you what I posted on Facebook first. Actually, I said, over 30s crew, did you experience any panic once you turned 30 that you were in the wrong kind of job? Or did you leave said job to pursue your dream job? Or did the fear, like,
we know the fear.
I might not ever get a job if I leave this job, cause you to stay and always wonder what could have been? So first of all, Patsy replied with, not at 30, but it was actually at 25. She used to work in finance, turned 25, had a bit of a wobble, which we assume is what we're talking about. That led me going back to uni, getting a degree, and didn't like that. So now she's self-employed. That is like looking at fear and telling it to jog on. Like, that's insane. Like, going back to uni, obviously to retrain to go do a different kind of job, and then not liking that, and then being a self-employed person. That's brave as hell. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Would that be something you'd consider doing, going back to university?
So this is the issue for me. I think the problem is it gets a lot more difficult once you've got you're out, you've got your house, you're paying bills, you've got people depending on you in whatever regard, whether it be a partner or children or, whatever you've got. It is a lot more difficult to turn around and say, right, okay, well, I probably don't need a wage. I probably don't need to spend as much time working. I'll go back to uni. And I know people get student loans and what have you, but it takes a lot of stones to just turn around and say, no, this is what I'm doing. I feel like in that situation, myself, of all people, I feel like I'd feel the fear. It's a bad gig. Once you get used to getting a monthly or a weekly wage or whatever, it's difficult to say no. All right, without. Well, yeah, way to go, Patsy.
Yeah, it's a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Zach Sabatino.
Not Sabatino.
He did exactly what we were talking about on this podcast. So he left his retail job to take a lesser paid job in 9 to 5, just so he could finally get his weekends and evenings back. And he said if it weren't for the support of his lovely girlfriend, then he would never have really. Well, he'd say he wouldn't have never done it. He said it made it some 10 times easier having someone that support you and help you through that. And that's totally right. Like if you're making that change, you're making that choice, someone who can help you financially and like to reassure you that everything's going to be fine is so important. So it's not necessarily if you're turning 30 and you're on your own, you might struggle more. Whereas if you're in a solid relationship, or if you're in a place where you've got really good friends and family around you to kind of help you through that, and I think that's obviously a really good thing. So I'm trying to think if there's anything you can really say for people who aren't in that situation. Oh, I suppose, I don't think you have to be in a relationship to do that. It just depends on how ballsy you're feeling.
Determination, isn't it? But it can be done.
So, yes, it definitely can be done. We've also got an extra entry into which one would you rather be. So Nikki Jackson also, she said, why not option C as opposed to A or B? Did you realise your job shouldn't define you as long as it pays your bills and supports your social life?
Absolute. You know what? Preach.
Preach
on the money. Testify.
Preach. Testify. You know what? I can completely get behind that because, like, at the end of the day, as long as you've got a roof over your head, you're paying your bills, you're being able to do the things you go out and enjoy, then the job shouldn't really, unless it's really painful, it shouldn't really dictate how you live your life. You don't live to work. You work to live.
True.
So I think that's a really, really wise bit of advice. And for anyone who's really thinking about leaving the job because of having the fear, because of the fear of turning 30, then maybe kind of take a step back and think, well, does this pay me enough? If it does, then maybe it might not be worth it.
Yeah.
But if you don't pay enough and you think you can do better, you go for it, sister.
Yeah, I mean, do what you want. There's people out there making a living selling candles on Etsy, right? Yeah. You can buy candles from Tesco, cheaper. Admittedly, you don't get a nice little backstory or whatever's gone on, whatever has chose to shop at Etsy, but you can get them cheaper. And yet, this is still something people are doing as a career. So you do whatever you want. Like
hell yeah.
It would be. These people give me the impression it is remarkably difficult to fail.
True. Well, if you put your mind to it and you have a good idea and the product is good, then you can't go wrong, can you?
Exactly. And if you do, really, would it be that difficult to get your job back?
Yeah, true. I think if you work in a job that you're really good at and your employer is sad to see you go, then there's always a chance you can always come back. And just pick up where you left off.
Sweeten the deal. Give them one of your candles.
Exactly. Well, I've got a lot of them because I didn't tell them all. So there's no danger one. No one wants to buy earwax smelling candles.
Madness.
I'm going to finish off with a comment from Rachel. She says, weirdly, I went through a kind of why didn't I do more to better my life? Why didn't I become a doctor vibe? She loves the job, but feels so passionate about it. But it's weird to have a mini wobble. But now she feels like she's living the dream. I think her point is, Rachel works as an embalmer, so she embalms people. And with that kind of job, I can imagine it's quite a stressful job, and there probably would be a lot of room for you to have wobbles and feel like that maybe you could have done something a bit more.
Sorry, just the hand gesture and the emphasis on the word wobble heavily implied that you. I mean, I'm sure she is an incredibly professional embalmer and never has a wobble. Like,
incredibly professional is Rachel. So, yeah, but I think the point being is that you're always going to have moments where you're considering leaving your job and thinking you can do better.
Yeah.
But then it takes a bit of perspective to realise that, you know what, every job's going to have an up and down, and sometimes you just need to take a step back and think, is this where I want to be?
Yeah.
If you can sit back and take that step back and then realise that it is where you want to be, then life must be great.
Yeah. And if it isn't, change it.
Exactly. Change it.
Highly plausible.
So that's everything from the social media desk. So I'm gonna run off into the distance now. Ciao.
Ciao. It's downhill, you see. That's what's gone on now.
Well, have you seen social media, Matt?
Yeah, you just missed him. It's
every time.
It's uncanny how you do that. Uncanny.
No, I believe he's got lovely, luscious locks and
a lovely hat.
They get everywhere. I mean, even I'm covered in them. So, after our lengthy discussion, Matt, can we put a conclusion to this?
Yeah, you know what? I'll have a crack at it.
Go on. Sum up in your best way, my friend.
Maybe, if you get the fear, fuck it. You're bad in that anyway. Quit. Do what you want. Go and do what you want with your job, whatever. If it don't work out, come back. Apologise. Say, yeah, I'll give it my best shot, but it didn't work. Can I come back and work for you? And then when they say yeah, do it again in a year and a half. Do what you want. There's no consequences for anything.
So fuck it. I like it. I would very much the same opinion. If you feel like you need to change something, then I think that you should make the change as long as you're not doing anything ridiculously outlandish and cannot come back from it. So don't piss off your former employer so you can't ever come back to that job and you've like burnt all your bridges. Don't do anything like that. If you're gonna hand your notice in. Do your week's notice. Don't do anything stupid.
We're all grown-ups, you know.
Exactly. Behave like an adult, because that is what you are. Because I actually feel like this could be the signs of an early midlife crisis. In my personal opinion, I think this one is.
You reckon?
Yeah. What do you think?
See, I don't know, because I feel like the problem is, I'd be 100% behind you, and I would say yes, perhaps it is a sign of a midlife crisis. But I feel like there's some people who it is continuous for them. They think this at 20, they think this at 15, they think this at 20, they think this at 28, they think this at 35, they think this at 40. You know, at some point there has to be the acknowledgement that maybe you're right and you're just not happy, and it isn't a sign of you getting older, and it isn't a sign of you just having a bit of a wobble. Actually, there is something out there that would cheer you up.
Yeah.
Not to be too fucking blasé about it, but there is something out there you'd rather be doing, and push on and do it.
Okay. Well, you know what? You've convinced me. Okay. We're going to put this in the category of not the signs of an early midlife crisis.
Good.
Job's a good one. We've solved another one.
Another problem solved. You're
Another
all
one.
welcome.
In the bag.
Put that in the bag. Take that to the bank. Next problem, friends.
Yes. Roll up. What's the next problem for us to tackle? In fact, actually, yeah. If you think you have a topic that we want us to tackle, then why not let us know?
Yeah.
How can they do such a thing, Matthew?
Well, so we're on all your usual avenues. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook as well, I believe. A lot of it comes under the That Thing You Like network.
Mm-hmm.
But you will also, if you wanted to, all the links will be in the description. But if you wanted to follow Matt personally for his MCU Guy podcast, that's available. It's out there. He's enjoying himself, putting some good stuff up. If you want to follow me, I'm out there putting less good and less frequently. But, you know, sometimes it gets weird. In all seriousness, next week I'm starting a cult. So if you want to join that, that's cool as well. I will probably not put a link to that up there because, you know.
Let them find that for themselves.
Yeah, I'm distancing myself from it. But it's going to be a laugh. You know, we're all wearing masks anyway. Why not? So, anything you need to broach before we sign out, Matt?
No, not necessarily. Just we'll probably next time we'll be back. I think we'll be doing another episode about things from our youth. So something maybe computer games or maybe something like sweets or something like that.
Yeah,
we'll come back with the nostalgia episode next month, and then month after we're back with another topic of discussion to try and figure out what is in fact the signs of an early midlife crisis.
That's the thing, Matt. So on your birthday, are we going to get hold of some sweet white wine?
Hell yeah, we are.
What a treat! Right.
We're only drinking Lambrini. That's our choice.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you can't force it on people. It's madness. I might even.
Definitely.
You know what I might have to celebrate? I might have a Midori sour. How's that? It's a remarkably tart drink.
Yeah, it's an awful drink. It's an awful drink. But right. I feel like we're digressing back into our last episode, so let's not dig back into that hole.
Jesus. Right. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Matthew.
It's been a pleasure. Never a chore. I shall see you next time.
See you next time on
Goodbye, kids.
This podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
This podcast is part of the That Thing You Might Like network. Here's something you might like. Find us on socials at TTYL Network.